We're back for week 3 and our third film of 100 Essential Films to Watch. This week is 1931's City Lights, which was written by, directed, produced by, music written by, and starring Charlie Chaplin. The music by is a very important part for this film because this was a silent film where the music soundtrack was in sync with what was happening on the screen. Not the words, though. This is not considered one of the talking films. City Lights follows Charlie Chaplin's tramp character as he falls in love with a blind flower girl and begins a very messy friendship with an alcoholic. But before we go any further into that, I do want to say that I don't understand the list of the 100 essential films. This film came out in 1931 as a silent film, but 3-4 years earlier in 1927, the first talking film called The Jazz Singer was released. And not only did it have in-sync dialogue with the words matching the lips, it also had 6 songs that were in sync with the soundtrack. The Jazz Singer kind of single-handedly led to the end of the silent film era. There was only a few other silent films made after The Jazz Singer, one of which was City Lights. So, The Jazz Singer came out in 1927. Charlie Chaplin started writing City Lights in 1928. They began filming in December of 1929 and ended filming in September of 1930. It was released then on January of 1931, January 30th. It was immediately successful from its release in January, which was interesting because people had already been enjoying talking films for 4 years at this point. With a budget of $1.5 million, it had a box office return of $4.25 million at the time, which if translated in today's money or converted into today's money is $72,805,855.26, if I remember correctly. In 1991, the Library of Congress picked City Lights to be preserved in the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, which happened to The Jazz Singer 5 years later in 1996. So going back to not understanding what makes the cut for the 100 essential films, I would definitely think that the first talking film ever would be kind of significant and essential in saying that's one that you've got to watch. But as far as I can tell, it is not on that list, which means maybe I got to have my own list after this. In 1949, the critic James Agee called the final scene of this film the greatest piece of acting ever committed to celluloid. Obviously, he never got a chance to see Tommy Wiseau's The Room, but I digress. The movie starts with a few short jabs at the talkie films of the times, with a cartoon-esque series of squeaks and honks matching the lip movements of some of the dignitaries as they prepare to reveal the new statue in the park. As the curtain is lifted, we see the tramp sleeping on the new statue. He is very quickly escorted away from the ceremony, and in something from a Mentos commercial, he walks into a car using one door just to walk out the other side to get to the curb where he wants to continue his getaway. And this is where the plot thickens. A blind flower girl who is selling her flowers on the corner mistakes our tramp for being a very rich and significant member of society coming out of a chauffeured vehicle. And our beloved tramp falls very hard for this beautiful flower girl on the corner. Even though he has very little to his name, he manages to scrounge up enough change to buy a flower from this beautiful woman that he is so smitten by. Later on that night, he runs into a drunken millionaire who is in the process of trying to drown himself, with Charlie convincing him that there is still a reason to go on, They end up going out for a night on the town. When they get home in the morning, they drive by the flower girl on her way to the corner to sell flowers, and Charlie convinces the millionaire friend, his newly acquired bestie, to lend him money to buy all of the flowers from this girl. He says, "Here's the money, take my car, I'm going inside." Charlie buys all of the flowers from his soon-to-be beloved, or his love interest, and drives her home in the millionaire's vehicle, kind of furthering along that misconception that Charlie is in fact a very wealthy man himself. When Charlie gets back to the mansion, the now sober millionaire doesn't remember who Charlie is and has him thrown out. Confused by this action, Charlie goes on about his day. But jump ahead to later on that night, the millionaire, now out on the town again and very well lubricated, spots Charlie walking around and invites him back to the mansion for a party. They party all night, and in the next morning, rinse, wash, repeat, the same thing happens. The very sober millionaire does not remember our hero, the tramp, and has him escorted out of the building again. Now we're going to do a quick plot crunch montage as to not spend too much time explaining every bit of the story, but you'll get the general idea. The tramp finds out that the flower girl is sick and needs help, so he decides to get a job to help support the now out of commission flower girl. Not only does he find a job, but he finds a doctor that has been doing operations on the blind to restore their vision. He goes to bring the news of the doctor and some fruits and vegetables to the flower girl when he finds out that her rent is overdue and they will be getting evicted the following day if the full amount of a whopping $22 for her rent is not paid. He makes a promise that he will get it done and that she has nothing to worry about. When he gets back to work, he has been fired. The tramp meets a boxer who convinces him to rig a fight with a $50 prize purse, and if Charlie throws the game, they'll split the money 50-50, giving him the $25 that he needs to pay the blind flower girl's rent. Unfortunately, that plan goes south when the boxer he was supposed to fight gets replaced. Later on in that night, he is out and about on the town and he runs into his millionaire friend again, explains the situation, and the millionaire says, "Don't worry about it, I got you covered for the rent and the operation. How does $1,000 sound?" Besides himself, Charlie thanks him, gives him a kiss on the cheek, and hugs him in a firm embrace, and shortly after, they are robbed. Charlie runs out of the house to try to catch the two culprits, and the butler of the millionaire wrongfully accuses the tramp of being the robber. Charlie gets away in enough time to hand deliver the money to the blind flower girl before being arrested. Gone straight to jail, do not collect $200, too bad, so sad, yo dad, you're gone. Jump ahead in the story a few months, Charlie is then released, and of course, the first stop he wants to go to is the flower girl's corner. But when he gets there, she is not to be found. Continuing his walk in desperation of having nowhere to go and nothing to do, he stumbles upon a flower shop that is now owned and operated by the flower girl, who has no idea what Charlie looks like. In her mind, she is waiting for a very rich, debonair, well-dressed man to come in and sweep her off her feet. When Charlie realizes, looking through the glass, who he's looking at, he tries to very sheepishly walk away. She comes out of the building to give him a flower and some change, and as she's touching his hand, giving him the money and the flower, she realizes who he is. In an absolutely beautiful, pulling at your heartstrings kind of way, the two loves are reunited as they stare into each other's eyes, and she realizes who she's looking at. The movie closes, and the movie ends with them being reunited. It really is a fantastic movie. It is a masterpiece from Charlie Chaplin. It was a huge success when it was released. It was a beautiful movie filled with the Charlie Chaplin's signature comedy laced throughout all of the scenes. A fantastic story of love and happy endings. Oh, I love a good happy ending. I would definitely suggest this being one of the movies to watch. I do agree with it being on the list. I think there are some other ones that should be on the list as well, but we can get into that another time. And now my favorite part, we get to scratch off City Lights, and we're going to move right along to the 1933 King Kong movie. Are you excited? I know I am. Let's scratch this off. All right, now we'll see what is underneath. And now we get to see what picture is underneath, and it looks like an image of Charlie Chaplin. And there we have the final reveal of City Lights with Charlie Chaplin from 1931. Okay. So now that we are finished and we have scratched off City Lights from Charlie Chaplin in 1931, check back next Tuesday for 1933's King Kong. I look forward to seeing you then. Catch you next Tuesday. I want to take a second to thank you guys for watching this. If you're enjoying these reviews and this list of 100 essential films, make sure you subscribe to the bottom and hit those little buttons, the thumbs up, the notification bell, and share this with your friends that are in the movies too. That helps a lot with getting this out to more people. And as always, I want to thank the Patreon followers whose names are popping up right now. Catch you guys later.